To introduce my speaker, Christian, servus.
Grüß dich.
Bist du aus Salzburg oder Wien?
Aus Salzburg.
Aus Salzburg.
Yeah.
So Salzburg, because you just told me Porsche Informatik, you have big offices in Vienna and in Salzburg.
Yeah, we do, yeah.
More than 1,000 engineers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the largest in Austria. Another thing that you told me, the software that you produce is not the software that runs in the Porsche cars.
No, you can't complain to me about that.
No, I don't earn the spare money for buying a Porsche. But what the software that you build is actually powering everything that happens once a car gets produced until it makes it to the end consumer.
Yeah, so everything, sales, after sales, parts, everything around that, logistics, that's the thing we do.
And we want to make sure that when people buy your cars, that they do it in a way that they also later pay for it, and they don't find security holes, and that everything works correct, and not anybody's abusing the system. This is why the topic, supply chain security using free and open source tools, you told me you will enlighten us and talk about the great open source tools that exist in the security space when it comes to supply chain.
Okay.
Yeah? Big round of applause, and then I'll leave the stage.
Okay. First, thanks to all the organizers, really great conference so far, so looking forward for the evening event and tomorrow. Okay, I'm going to talk about security stuff. I'm Christian, I work for Porsche Informatik for ages. I'm a software developer for ages, and yeah, you can find me here. The links are at the end as well. First, a caveat. This talk only covers dependency management, so there's more to security than that, so we're going to just focus on this topic. Yeah, weekend. You think about the weekend, everything is nice, you're going to the mountains, and then your boss comes in and tells you, your next task is to figure out what is running Log4j. We all had this probably last year, and it didn't go well, so how can we improve that a little bit? So the main issue here is the dependencies that we have and the issues that the dependencies have. So let's have a look. Sneak had a study this year. Like 87% had one of these supply chain events in the last year. Okay, Log4Shell was in there, obviously. But so many companies face this issue of supply chain issues. And so it's getting more important. Its dependencies increase and increase. Also, I looked at one of our applications, for example. On the top there's TypeScript, and the bottom there's Java as a typical application. And I just counted the lines of code and saw that, yeah, like your code is just a tiny bit. And I'm not even talking about Linux and Kubernetes and everything that's going on below when running the application. So this is just runtime dependencies of the Java and the TypeScript application. So there's a lot of things going on, and you are responsible for managing all the gray part as well, not only the blue parts, okay? So there's also a Synopsys report. Synopsys is the company that bought Black Hat security, so they are have quite interesting reports. And there you can see like 89% of code bases use software that's more than 4 years old, so open source software that's quite outdated. So yeah, what do we learn from that? We have to manage our dependencies. So I want to give you 3 things that you can do, that you can easily do in your organization to increase security. First thing is inventory. Create an inventory of your stuff that is running in production, in QA, in anywhere, okay? Create your inventory of that and all the dependencies of that. Then scan those stuff. There are good scanners out there. Go in and have a security scan about that. And the last thing is regularly update your security, your dependencies. So with updating, you not only increase your security, because usually the newest versions have the patches, you also stay on top of the hill of the dependencies that are rolling in, and after a while you can't really update. Okay, let's look into it. First, inventory. So Who has heard of SBOM? Okay, nearly everybody. SBOM is a software bill of material. So if you build a car, you have a bill of material of the parts that the car is made of. And the software bill of material is the same idea. So you have all the dependencies with versions, with licenses, and optionally even with vulnerabilities. And there are two standards that formats that you can write these SBOMs in. One is SPDX, it's from the Linux Foundation, so from us, kind of. And the other one is from CycloneDX from OWASP. So the CycloneDX came from the security angle, and the SPDX came from the license angle, from the original thing, but now they're kind of interchangeable. So, yeah, what is the good idea? So the best idea would be to generate the SBOM at build time. So while you build your application, create an SBOM, attest it to the artifact that you create, but most of organizations cannot do this now for everything. So what can you do? I'm just demoing two small tools that show you how can easily create an inventory of all your running stuff on all your Kubernetes clusters. And these tools are Sift and Dependency Track. Dependency Track is a project from OWASP. Sift is an open source project from Anchor. So let's get into it. So Sift is a command line tool that you can easily install with any package manager you like. And then you have this Sift command, and you can just run Sift and put in any Docker image, for example, node 18 Alpine, and it will load the image from Docker, parse it, scan it. So you can see all the dependencies in there. For example, there's clib in there, and there's some npm dependencies in there. And you see that the list is quite long, but not too long. You can obviously do the same thing with node 18 without Alpine, which gets you Ubuntu-based image, I think, or Debian. And you see that there are a lot more dependencies in there, especially a lot more Debian packages. Sift can also export the stuff in different formats. For example, also to SPDX, which the normal SPDX format is also a text-based format, which has all the dependencies in there, including all the references, like which dependencies reference each. The format is a little bit strange, so there's also a JSON version of that, which you can also JQ so that you have a nice syntax highlighting. And you can see that there is some kind of references, and up there, when you look there, it's really long. You can see that there are the packages. And yeah, and there's also like other formats like CycloneDX, and you can put it in there as well. CycloneDX is an XML format, but you can also have a JSON version of that. And there you can see, for example, one of these package identifiers. Most of them use this neutral identifier where you can see the package name, the version, and the artifact system that it's built in. So this is a nice tool. You can run it on your command line. You can generate your SBOMs. You can even do something like that. So you have a jar file and run it against it, and then it finds all the dependencies. You can run it against a directory, for example, and it will search for all the dependency files that it finds, and even it recursively into Java archives. So if you have a Ruby thing in a Java, in a Ruby thing, then it will find it. So it's quite good. There are alternatives, obviously, but this is quite a cool tool. Yeah, so let's go to the next thing. And the next thing is OWASP dependency track. So I have set up here in the Kubernetes cluster, and you can see that we already have some images there. And what I use there is a Git, is an operator. It's by Christian Köberl. It's called SBOM operator. You install it in your Kubernetes cluster, and then it scans all your images and reports them to OWASP dependency track. So you can see we have some images now there. And now I'm going to deploy just one demo application that we have. And I'm writing OC. And then I can see if the deployment is up. Yeah. And in a minute or so, we should also see now this Angular Spring Heroes application here scanned, because the operator runs every minute and scans all the images. And it creates an annotation to the already scanned images, so it doesn't scan it twice. So let's see. Not there yet. But we can have a look at the other ones. And you can see, you can go in there and see all the dependencies, the components that it's made of. So it will scan for Linux dependencies, NPM dependencies, and so on, Java, Ruby, whatever you have. And you can also see the vulnerabilities, because OWASP dependency track also scans for the vulnerabilities. So hopefully the live demo will work. And we will see Angular Spring Heroes here. Otherwise, it's not that important. Hi, here it is. So we just saw, okay, it saw the new image, and now it has scanned it, it's had analyzed all the components, and now the dependency track checks for all the dependencies and checks if there are any known vulnerabilities in these dependencies. Okay, so this works quite well. Even with undeploying, as soon as you undeploy the image, it will delete it from OWASP dependency track again. And it will also track multiple clusters. So if you have multiple clusters running the same things, it will annotate it with the cluster name. And then you can, it will only be deleted if it's gone from all your clusters. So this is a very nice operator. The operator is then in the links. And also, I have here in my Git repository, which is also in the links, the whole deployment, how you deploy this. So there's a Terraform file for that, where you can see how you deploy the dependency track, the SBOM operator, and also an ingress controller here that is running on this Kubernetes cluster. So yeah, with that, you have an inventory of all your applications in dependency track, and you can easily answer the question, who's running log4j? And here we are. So you can even go in for the version, and here we have, for example, log4j API, and whatever. Or in this file, we had to query for core. Nobody's using core in this cluster, so we're fine. So that's quite easy, and now you can answer the question in 1 minute and go over with your hiking business. Okay. So this was Sift and dependency track. A real nice duo that works quite well here. So, okay, some backup slides. The next thing you have to do is scan everything. Yeah. So scanner is also a solved problem. There are a lot of scanners there. There's Aqua Trivi, Claire, and Gripe for the open source scanners, and there is tons of enterprise stuff that you can buy, like Man, Socket, Bbrick, and whatever. So there are a lot of tools that scan your dependencies and will tell you if there are any vulnerabilities. Maybe Socket is quite interesting. Socket is a quite interesting tool because it also prevents you from installing vulnerabilities on your local machine. So it's also a quite nice way to go. The others are quite, the typical enterprise stuff. Okay. The only problem is with security scanners and security vulnerabilities is false positives, obviously. So you will get a lot of them, and you have to manage them. And those tools some are better, some are worse. For example, in dependency track, you can mark one thing as is fine, and then it won't come up again for this one, or you can mark fine for the whole thing, but it's not really good as yet. So, but I can't help you with that. We can have to lift this to the enterprise stuff, or maybe some open source project will come up that will solve it. But yeah, we still have this problem, and I think we will stick it for a while. That leaves me with the last part. And that is update. Update your dependencies. And actually there are just 2 tools for that. So who is using Renovate? Okay, yeah, some hands, like 50%, not even. And who's using Dependabot? Okay, seems like just the opposite people. And some, who's not using dependency updates? Oh, some, yeah, okay. So there are two tools, Dependabot and Renovate. Renovate is an open source project by a single guy actually, and was sold later to Mend.io, a security company. And Dependabot was a project company and then was bought by GitHub. And if anybody uses any of those tools, it's good, but I would recommend to use Renovate. Renovate is much more flexible and you can do a lot more with that. So we can have a look at that. Okay, my second demo, and here's the Git repository for those people who want to take a picture probably, and it will be in the slides afterward as well. And in this Git repo, there's both demos in there. Okay, let's switch over to GitHub. So you can easily activate Renovate on GitHub by just going to the settings and then going to the GitHub apps and activating the GitHub app for that, okay? And then what Renovate will do, it will create a pull request. And it will say, please configure me, okay? And I found this dependency files here. And yeah, I will update those. And then it will also say, okay, what to expect. I will update those npm dependencies and so on and so forth, okay? So what I also did here, I created a second commit in there, which we can have a look at in a second, but I'm gonna merge this now so that Renovate can do its job. Okay, so let's look at the changes I did to the Renovate configuration. So I added some stuff here as well, which we can look up in a second. So I added some package rules. For example, you can group dependencies, npm, want all the npm dependency updates in one pull request, okay? Or you want all Maven dependencies in one pull request. You can say all major updates in one pull request, or all minor updates in one pull request, and stuff like that. And you can even do crazy things like regular expression meshing, so you can do updates in a bash file. In any file you think of, you can do dependency updates. And that's more flexible than Dependabot. So let's see if Renovate is already working. Yeah, here we go. It created an issue, and to pull requests, we can go to the issue. It creates some kind of dependency dashboard, and it will say, okay, I will create this pull requests, but they are rate limited, so you can also rate limit them. But I'm gonna click this now and say, okay, create all rate limited PRs, so I want to see them all. And yeah, we can see it already saw the grouping of the npm dependencies and created all the updates here. And you also see like how many people already did this update and how many builds were passing after they did this update. And so they create this merge confidence. So if a lot of people already merged it, it's quite old, and a lot of builds went good, then it's a high merge confidence. And otherwise it's low and so on. So it's quite interesting to see also this if you want to merge. And if you have a good pipeline with CI/CD, with automated tests, then you're pretty confident to merge them. What's really interesting is it will also find some crazy stuff. For example, I said that there was the SBOM operator. And if you look at the diff here, you can see that it's in a Terraform file. So it's a Helm. It's the Helm adapter for Terraform, and there's a version in there. So it found that without any configuration. Dependabot won't find that. So it will find all the stuff in your infrastructure config as well. It can also pin Docker images. Maybe we can see that. So you can use the real hash and update all the dependencies in this case. So you can do rollouts with that and create pull requests automatically with that. Yeah, for example, here's a Docker update, which is quite simple. Yeah. And then let's see another one, probably. There's also a Docker update. I think the regex update didn't run through yet. But yeah, as you can see, it would also update the Terraform provider here and so on and so forth. So And as I said, you can update dependencies in any bash script or in any script that in any language, PowerShell or whatever you have. So that is really handy and really good to use. So maybe I also have a backup repository. Was it this one? I can't remember. Oh, it's also a normal Docker update. But as you can imagine, with the regular expression thing, you can do actually all the updates that you can do. Okay, so Renovate is also quite handy because you can also deploy it on-premise. So you can deploy it on your own servers in your Kubernetes cluster. For example, we have it running in our Kubernetes cluster, and it talks to our GitLab instance on-premise. So you can talk to your private instance and use it there as well. And even there it's for free. You have to just get some license code from Mend.io, and then you can run it for free on your own infrastructure. Because the actual not open source part is just a simple server that runs Renovate. You can run Renovate on the command line. It's a Node.js binary. You can run it in a Docker container. It's all open source, and you can all use it. It's really cool. Okay. So I'm already at my conclusion. The most important thing I want to get over was remember the 3 things: inventory, scan, and update. Yeah. Inventory, create an inventory of the running stuff, because all the stuff that's also in your Docker registries or somewhere in your artifact repository isn't really important if there's a security thing in there. Only the stuff that's running in any environment, that's where your security stuff has to be. And currently, not even the enterprise solutions have a good solution for that. So you have one solution probably that is running in your Kubernetes cluster, but what about the other stuff that you have somewhere else? So you have to manage, every time you deploy something to a Tomcat or to any other server or whatever, a Ruby application somewhere, then, or a serverless function with dependencies, you have to put in the SBOM somewhere so that you can find it, that it's running somewhere. That's the only way you can answer the question, is Log4j running? Then scan it, as I said, false positives, but at least you solve the issue of one major issue with Log4j, we can fix this in a minute, or we can find it in a minute and tell all the teams. And the last thing is continuously upload your dependencies. And as I said, you can even use those tools for CI/CD processes. You can create a pull request in your Argo repository when you push the image after, and so you get the right image into your configuration repository that you put into production. Really, really cool tool. That